So, how do you know if you're working on the right things? And I'll tell you first of all that you get advice all the time. It's the same. It's work hard, work hard, work hard, work hard. Well, the risk in what we do, and if you're listening to this, I'm talking about a sweaty startup. I'm talking about a business that is not revolutionary, not new, same old business. The problem, the risk, the fear that I have for you as a follower of me, as a listener of this podcast, is that you start a sweaty startup. Nick convinces you to start a sweaty startup. And 6 years later, 10 years later, heck, 6 months later, you are stuck in a grind. You have your nose on the grindstone and you are working. I've seen it happen to so many people, and I think that if you own a small business, half the people listening to this, maybe more, are stuck in the never-ending cycle. Their nose is on the grindstone. They are working hard. I'm going to give you a little wake-up call right now that, hey, working hard is not the way to succeed. And you know this is not going to be a popular take. It might lack humility, but you need to hear it because it's the most important part. The key to success is not working hard. Making a lot of money, getting wealthy is not about working hard. I mean, yes, there is a good significant portion of the population that does not work hard, and they're not going to succeed. That's a given. But guess what? Only 10 or 15% of Americans will ever achieve real wealth. So we're not talking about beating the lower 50. The people that want to succeed, the people that have a chance to succeed, and the people that will succeed do work hard. They absolutely do work hard. Everybody at the top works hard. So how do you differentiate yourself? It's not working hard. And what you have, what I'm afraid of, is that you own a service business, you own an agency, you own a company of some kind, construction company, trades company, home services company, even a real estate private equity company like me. My fear is that you have yourself a job. Maybe it's a very profitable job, but my fear is that you have yourself a job, meaning if you left, it would stop. The only thing making money, or the only thing keeping the money being made, is you. And if you left your company, there would be no more company. That is the case with so many service businesses right now. And if you buy them, at first, you're buying yourself a job. I do love buying these businesses because there is no option to sell them to most people. And there is definitely no option to put it on passive run itself mode. So back to working hard or working smart. The key to success is not working hard because everybody does it. The key to success is working smart and choosing what you, as an owner, need to spend your time on. Now, there's all this talk online about getting a virtual assistant, hiring out, delegating your job. Now, that is just a glorified employee. A virtual assistant is just a glorified employee, in my opinion. You, as a business owner, you need to look at your schedule and you need to figure out something. Hey, this is the 10 hours a day that I'm working, the stuff that I'm working on. I'm doing things, I'm physically working for my business for 10 hours a day. What of that 10 hours, what of that stuff is low value work? Meaning could be done by somebody who makes $25 an hour or less. $25 an hour is $50,000 a year. I call that the threshold. Upwards of that, you probably need to be able to make some decisions. You need to be able to delegate. Down from that, it's a robot job. Tell me what to do and I will do it. And if you're in a job, if you're listening to this with a job, you need to find out if you have a robot job or a work smart job. Because if you have a robot job, you're never going anywhere. A robot job means every day somebody tells you what to do. Show up and work hard. That's the job. Work hard is the job. Working smart doesn't matter because you don't have to make any decisions. You show up and you do your job. Now, if you're showing up and you're doing your job and you're working hard, but there's no decisions to be made, you are replaceable. You are replaceable by somebody else. And if everybody has some kind of variance, even I do a lot of low value work, checking stupid emails, I'm filling out property tax forms. I wrote a bunch of checks to investors yesterday. That work could be done by a $20 an hour person or less. But when I think about growing and scaling a business, when you're thinking about growing and scaling a business, you need to analyze your time and figure out what percentage of your time, how much of your time are you spending on stuff that is low value. And you got to delegate that stuff first. That's part of working smart. You have to choose what you are going to work on. There's too many business owners who own deck companies that are out on the jobs bidding deck jobs. And they're out on the jobs laying boards. And they're out at Home Depot picking up boards. There's too many construction companies that the owner's up there hanging shingles and doing work, or on the job being a foreman. Now, there's different levels, okay? So as your business grows, as you get to 9, 10, 11 employees, that is when it gets really critical for you to take on almost all of that middle, that $50,000 on up to about $100,000 work, minor decision making, start to delegate that. And it's all a process. So the more time you can spend every single week working in the high value zone, meaning the delegating, the hiring, the selling, the making decisions, the building relationships that will pay you back for years, the building processes within your company that will make you money for years, making final decisions on assets to acquire that may pay you every single month passively for years. That's the question. Are you going to be able to do that? And it's the hardest part. Hiring people, delegating, it's the hardest part. But first, in the next episode, we're going to talk about hiring. Got something coming out here soon to help you. But what I want you to do right now is analyze your time. If you have a job, analyze your time. How much high value work am I doing? How much decision making am I doing? If it's not very much, you find a way to get it to be more, because you'll never earn more money doing that job. And if you own your own business, how much of the low value work that a $20 an hour employee, how much of that am I doing? How much of that middle tier work that a $50,000 to $100,000 middle manager can do? How much of that work am I doing? And how much time a week am I spending in that sweet spot that is making me wealthier with assets, that's building things that are valuable to me, that is hiring, that is delegating, that is doing the work to build an actual business? And I can't go any further in this episode without talking about the 80-20 rule. 80% of your results, 80% of your wealth, 80% of your success, 80% of your company's revenue comes from 20% of your work. It's just a fact. 20% of your work will generate 80% of your yield. For me, I'll give you a couple examples of my podcast. The podcast is not in my 80-20, believe it or not. These videos are not in my 80-20, believe it or not. Twitter, the 20% of activity that I spend on Twitter generates 80% of the return for me. It's where I sell all my courses. It's where I build my communities. It's where I raise all the capital for my self-storage deals. Twitter's in my 80-20. I still do the other stuff because I do think it's really valuable, and I'm really good at delegating the super low value stuff, but I don't do much that's as valuable as my work on Twitter. In my business, it's the same thing. I mean, the meetings that I have with my sales teams to try to acquire self-storage, the new hire that we made on the financial team to help us underwrite deals, the final decision on whether or not to acquire an asset, and once we acquire it, how much money are we going to put into it? That kind of stuff, that kind of decision making is absolutely critical, and that is in my 80-20. Now, writing the individual checks and putting them in the mail and paying taxes and having a call with my accountant, that stuff, maybe not. Maybe it's delegatable, but I'm not perfect, right? Everybody is working towards it. Someday, I want to only sit in on the big meetings where I'm making the decisions of the direction of the company, but I'm not there yet. I only have 9 employees. So think about it. Do some analysis on your life. If you're in a company, are you working on high value work? If not, you're going to have really a lot of trouble getting paid. And if you're in small business, how much low value work are you doing? And when is it time? Are you overloaded? Are you working too much? That's a big question. It's a big question here. Are you working too much? If you're not working too much, if you don't feel that you're overloaded with tasks to do, then absolutely you need to do the low value work. It's a cycle. It's a process. At the very beginning, you start out doing almost all low value work. When we started our storage company, I was out on the trucks driving them because we didn't have enough business. I didn't have anything else to do. But as soon as you start getting busy, as soon as you start throwing down 70-hour weeks, and as soon as you have more opportunity for customers, then you know what to do with. You have a employee problem, not a customer problem anymore. And growth is important. Every minute that you spend out on that job doing low value work is costing you big money. The opportunity cost of your time as an owner, because you're the only one who can make the decisions to build and scale the business and put the assets in place. But many other people can go out and hammer a board, or go out to the job site and check on things, or go out and do some cold calling. Okay? So you have to figure out where you are in this process. If you're at the very beginning, ignore me. Listen to this episode when you're busy. If you're at a job and you are at a new job, ignore me. But if you're 5 years in and you're trying to figure out your next move and you're trying to figure out how to generate long-term wealth, you need to think about it. If you're running a small business and you are busy and you basically feel like you've built yourself a job, and when your friends invite you to go do something, you can't do it, and when your wife sees you walk in the door at 8:30 p.m. and you're exhausted and you're broken, that's when it's time to sit back and analyze some of the stuff that you're doing. And are you working smart or are you working hard? Because working hard is not a way to build wealth. Working smart is how you build companies. It's how you get your time back. It's how you do what you want to do when you want to be doing it. And what is the goal of all this? I'll end with this. What is the goal? Why are we doing all this? Are we doing this just to do it? If that's the case, by all means, keep working 70 hours a week. Or are we starting businesses? Are we working jobs to grow and to move forward and to get better? And eventually, you need to do some analysis with your own family and yourself about why you're doing it. But I am doing this to get control of my time. I'm doing it so that, actually today at noon, I'm heading out to go to Reynolds Plantation to play golf at the Ritz at Coney. A great course. I'm playing golf again tomorrow night. I have member guests coming up, and I'm getting my game together for it. It's a ton of fun. My wife's going to Florida this weekend. I have control of my time. I love what I'm doing, and I don't have full control of it, but I can do the bare minimum and get everything running along and keep the money coming in on 10 hours a week. You need to get there, and then it's all about delegating ourselves all the way out of it so that we have the money coming in and we can spend our time doing exactly what we want to be doing. And if it's growing the business, that's fine. If it's starting a nonprofit, that's great. If it's spending time with friends and family, that's great. If it's traveling around, that's great. Take control of your time is the end goal. The only way you can do that is by working really, really smart.